Good evening and welcome back to Wethersfield Talk. I'm Rick Gary, your host. Tonight we have back with us Wethersfield Mayor Ken Lesser to talk about 2024 and looking forward to 2025. Ken, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you for having me and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So, Ken, what do you want to talk about tonight? Anything happening in Wethersfield?
There's a lot happening, and it's wonderful to be able to talk about what happened in 2024, some of the highlights, and we can look ahead to 2025, and I'm so optimistic about Wethersfield's future. It's a great town.
Been here my whole life, so I must like it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad.
So what are some of the highlights that happened in 2024 that in your ideas?
So we'll take a look at three different areas. We'll take a look at education quickly, and we can have a little conversation. We'll take a look at economic development. I think the listeners will be interested in that one too. And then what I call some quality of life issues. First in education. So we formed and this is really important for your listeners to know, a bipartisan building committee. And the charge of the building committee is to prepare us for another referendum. We had one about 2 years ago to redo the 5 elementary schools because they're in really rough condition. They were built 50, 60, 70 years ago. They're not safe. They got a lot of problems. So we did that, and that committee is working hard with a goal of having a referendum this spring. Probably June is what I've heard.
And they're looking at, because the last time the referendum came out, it was for all the schools at once.
Yes.
And I think that was a little scary to a lot of people.
Yes.
So are we looking maybe to break it up a little more this time?
So that's still under discussion, but the plan that is gaining traction is to have 2 referendums, and they've are talking about a configuration where there would be 4 K through 4 schools, and Webb would be made into a 5-6 school, which I think was tried in Wethersfield years ago and was built for that type of school. And this is the proposal that I've heard the most about, that I believe the building committee is going to recommend out, not closing a school. We had Charles Wright closed in the recommended last referendum a couple years ago. This would keep the 4 elementary schools as is, other than Webb. The 5th would be converted to a 5-6.
So that was originally a 7-8 school anyway.
Yes.
And when my kids were young and they did their referendum, that was an option to make it a 5-6. But at that time, people didn't like the idea.
Yes.
I know that.
So I've heard a lot of positive comments about that. But, you know, as I like to say, when you make big decisions like this, small decisions too, big decisions, you know, it affects real people. And they change, their life may change, kids may get bused. You know, the goal is to make a better educational experience for our kids, and we need new skills. The roofs are leaking, the buildings aren't safe. We get complaints all the time from teachers, students, and parents, so we want to do something. So that was a big one. We also invested in early childhood education. We put some money in there because we have a number of issues. We have a wait list, we have not enough space for our kids, and all the studies show if kids get to go to preschool, they get a good start in life, and the kids that don't go to preschool, they're behind.
They're behind a little bit.
Yeah. So that's in the area of education. Maybe we could talk about economic development.
I love economic development.
Yeah. So we have 3 exciting things that happen in 24 that setting us up for success in 2025. We have what I would call 3 dilapidated, unused buildings for many, many years, and let me take you through each one. They are the Masonic Home on Main Street, the Auction House on Church Street, and the old nursing house on Jordan Lane. So let's take the Masonic Home first. That was owned by the Tabshays, and that sold last year. And the new owners are investing a lot of money in there. And we hope by the summer, and we think by the summer, maybe earlier, it will be completed. And they're in the process of looking for tenants right now. I've heard office space is likely, but that will be, well, let's say by year end, hopefully early, a fully occupied property. It's been empty for almost 2 decades. The second one is the nursing home, which has been empty for a little over a decade, 341 Jordan Lane. It's an eyesore.
Yes, it is.
We have gotten that finally cleared for development. We have a very assertive owner who wants to put apartments there. And we need more housing. People want to come into Wethersfield. It's fantastic. The demand is high. The supply is low. So we need both market rate housing, which this will be primarily, and we need affordable housing. Now, when
Right.
you build in Connecticut, you have to have 10% of whatever you build in terms if it's units affordable.
affordable, right.
So if they build 10, one of them has to be
affordable.
considered affordable at a lower cost. So that's the second. And the most exciting one that we have going and the furthest along is the auction house.
Right.
The auction house, which people will remember that have been in town a long time. I'm sure you remember it.
My dining room set is from that auction house back in 1989 or 90.
Yeah,
See,
so that's
so-
a great story. You're still using that dining
I'm
room.
still using that dining room
That's
table.
fantastic. So I hope you got a good bargain.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So it has been empty for almost 2 decades. We have a new out-of-town owner who's very sort of investing lots of money, going to be millions of dollars invested, and we have 2 tenants signed up. So I can talk about that and the plans, and it's quite exciting. One of the tenants, and we're looking for a third, and I'll talk about what we're looking for. One of the tenants, and I've had so many meetings on this, I'm so excited about it, these tenants. One of the tenants is going to be kind of this hybrid, you may have heard of a company, WeWork.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this will be that type of company that will have 50 to 70 people, employees renting space there. They are already signed up, so we'll have at least 50 people on the ground by the end of next year, which is great.
Fantastic.
But the even more exciting concept, and I hope this works out, and this is also signed, is we have a local Wethersfield resident who is going to convert part of the auction house into a music venue,
Really?
performing area.
Wow.
And she's putting in, the plan is over 400 seats. It will be live music on the weekends where they will sell, I believe, my understanding is limited alcohol sales like craft beer or things like that.
Right.
And the idea is to bring in, on the weekends,
Live music.
live music
That's
to
fantastic.
Wethersfield.
That
And
is
there'll
great.
be one piece left. It's about 2,800 square feet. I actually just had a meeting with a potential restaurant. We'd like a food service in
Oh,
there.
that would be great. Yeah.
So this is going to be really exciting for Wethersfield.
That is great, because I heard the original plan as office space.
Yes.
You know, it was totally different, because the previous owner was going to do apartments and some retail, I think.
Well, that was one of
Yes.
them. We also had
Yes.
Square Peg Pizza.
Square
bought
Peg,
it,
yes.
A couple
that was
years
a few
ago.
years ago.
They sold it recently to this owner.
Okay.
So
Good.
Square Peg would have been good, but we have a lot of pizza. I think this might work out better.
That's great. No, it sounds very exciting.
Yeah, so economic development's good. And the last area, real quick, is some quality of life stuff. We passed an enhanced blight ordinance. We do have a fair amount of blight in our town, both residential and commercial. And this was to go after commercial. We increased the fine from $100 to $1,000, and we're applying that to some places. One on Silas Dean that has been blighted for a while. So that's really good. We also made significant investments into police and fire. And I'll highlight the fire department for 1 second. We added, almost doubled the pay they get for their call time to benefit. We're having trouble recruiting firefighters, and we want to keep our department volunteer.
That is a problem all over the country.
Yes.
It's a changing world. It's, you know, people don't work in town anymore. They don't have those traditional jobs anymore. They're not in town where they can do that. So
One of our many claims to fame in Wethersfield is, and I don't bet a lot of your listeners don't know this, but we have the oldest continuous volunteer fire department in the United States since 1803. This is the 222nd birthday of the Wethersfield Volunteer Fire Department. We want to keep it volunteer.
that would be great.
Yeah.
But I do know it's becoming more and more challenging
It is, you're
for
100% right.
volunteer departments all over.
Yes, big challenge to recruit people. The world's changed.
So if anybody's interested in volunteering for the fire department, they have openings.
Yes, they do. We'd love to have them.
Yep. That's great. And in the economic development side, I've also noticed we have another new bank, I think, going up in the Wethersfield, in the plaza where Buffalo Wild Wings is.
Yes, we have Dutch Point Credit Union, which is on the Silas Dean right now towards Hartford. And they have both their retail branch there and their corporate offices. They are keeping their corporate offices there, but they're building a retail bank branch, which is great for us, great for the town.
Well, anytime you see a new building popping up,
it's great.
It's great.
It's great. And we have 40 new businesses open up, which is a huge year for us in '24. So we're open for business.
Well, that's great, because also, if you think about the apartment building that opened up on Ridge Road, two apartment buildings on Ridge Road, both filled up immediately.
Yes.
The Borden filled up.
Yeah.
Right? So
we need more apartments. There's
hard to
people want to
believe.
come into Wethersfield.
I
They
think
know
it's
you're
great.
here.
I wish I was the reason, but
of
whatever
good-
the reason is,
A lot of good things are happening.
it's great.
Yeah,
That's good
the
to
word
hear.
is out. The secret's out.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so you had education, economic development, quality of life now.
Yeah, those are the quality of life, are the the blight, We're cracking down. We're investing in, as I said, the police and fire. And I'll mention one more, which will be interesting that we can talk about. We formed a murals committee because a lot of towns have, we have a meeting next week. We had a couple meetings. A lot of towns have invested in public art, and public art has enhanced communities all over Connecticut, all over the country.
All over the country.
Yeah, and people like public art, so we thought that would be great. We started a committee about 2 months ago, and we're looking for the best places in town to put art and looking for artists. So
well, you know, when you drive around cities all over the country, and you know, my wife and I have been fortunate enough to travel to a bunch of cities, and you see these giant murals. It really is nice.
It's beautiful.
Hartford has a number of really nice murals now.
They do, and I got to take a tour of those, and that's what kind of galvanized me, the idea we should look into this in Wethersfield. So we formed a committee. Like everything has to have a committee.
Well, of course.
Of course. So we formed a committee, and we have really dedicated folks who are interested. We're looking at different locations. You have to raise a little money, and we're looking at that too. All good.
Oh, everything sounds positive.
Everything is positive. A lot
good.
to be thankful for. A lot to be positive. We live in the best town in Connecticut.
See, you're our best cheerleader. One thing I would like to mention is we had a referendum recently regarding sports fields. And the referendum kind of, I think it probably showed that there's a lot of people who do not want to see artificial turf. I'm not even going to talk about location, but the turf itself, right, seems to be a big pushback.
Yeah, Rick, so this is an issue all over the country, and it was a big issue in Wethersfield. So on December 10th, a little less than a month ago, we had a town-wide referendum, and by huge numbers, it was about 5 to 1, close to 85 to 15%, over 80% against the turf field. And I think people feel, for different reasons, that turf field is not good for our town. There's some health concerns, some environmental concerns, and then there are a lot of people that concerned about the makeup of the neighborhood and parks. So people came out in big numbers, and you know, I'll say this, that's democracy. That's our system of government. It's great, it works great, and people got to speak up, they organized, and certainly the folks that did not want the turf field got their message out there, and not unanimously, but overwhelmingly.
So now you have to, as a council, you have to now go back to the drawing board a little bit as to what your next steps are involving sports fields.
Yeah, so this is a big issue for us. Thank you for bringing it up, Rick. So there was 1.6 million of federal ARPA COVID funds dedicated to this. That money has now been, it's not really the general fund, but it's been put into, and we had to get clearance for this. We didn't even know we would. There was some concern we would lose the money if we didn't spend it, but we got clearance. It's now out of ARPA and in town account, but we are able to spend it, and we are looking at the best places. Fields maintenance of the fields is something I think we need. And this is me, I'm one person and one of 9 votes on the council. I think we need to invest in the senior center.
Oh yeah.
It needs work. This area, where we are today.
Right. Without a doubt.
If you look at other places like this, we are way behind. Yeah.
And I don't want to, you know, it's not to be negative against anyone or programs, but when my father was alive and he would go to Newington. Yeah. To go to the senior center. Yeah. Because they had a very active community playing billiards and doing the things he wanted to do. And again, I'm not talking negatively about anybody here. It's just that we need to enhance the programs and the building.
So, and that's a good segue, because one of my goals for 2025, and I have 3 main ones, is to invest money in this building. Right. And the way I feel is we need to do some things short term and some things long term. And short term, one of the things I'd like to see, it's my idea, maybe nobody will like it, I'd like to see a greeting desk in the front when you walk in, almost like Keeney, maybe staffed by seniors if we can get some willing, and I've talked to some. And a nice desk where I have people come in there and say, well, where do I give blood? Or where do I pick up my kids? Well, now they know, but when they first come, where do I pick up my kids? Where is this? Where maybe is the great Channel 14? So I would love that, and it's also a nice way to walk into a building. And then the banquet room, we need to keep that up. Long term, I would like to see an addition. I'd love to have a multicultural, intergenerational center, expanded daycare, preschool, all that stuff. If we could get money somehow, that's more of a dream. But we have to fix this place up. Newington's way better. Rocky Hill is beautiful. So.
Well, and again, it's infrastructure always seems to be left behind, right? And that's why, I mean, even at a national level, after all those decades, we finally had an infrastructure bill passed in the last administration, or current, for the next few days. And you start to realize ports and bridges and railways and airports have all been crumbling for all these years.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens in every town.
Because towns don't want to invest in the money because it's expensive, so it gets pushed down the road. The same problem we've had with the fields. And it's not political. Republicans and Democrats, it just gets pushed down because we don't want to spend $2 million to fix this. So then it gets worse. So it's an issue.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it because, and I've talked to you before about, Cove Park, which should be our most beautiful area. We should, and it's just not.
Yeah.
And so we
it
need
needs
to do
a
some
lot of work.
Yeah.
One of the things that's exciting for 2025 is something we're going to do at Cove Park. But if you when you want to get to that, we'll talk.
When you're ready to tell me, I will listen.
All right. So this is really exciting and really, really something I'm proud of. Some people are bringing up this idea, and now we're putting it into place. We are going to have in September of this year, 2025, the Veterans. I want to make sure I get the wording right. Traveling Tribute Wall come to Wethersfield. It will be here from September 10th to September 14th. It will be going to Cove Park. It is the size of a football field.
Wow.
It is a replica of the Vietnam Wall. If you've been to Washington, it has all those panels. They come in on an escort. And it has all the names of the people that passed in the Vietnam conflict. And also, we are getting 72 other walls to commemorate all the conflicts from World War I through Afghanistan, including September 11th.
Wow.
Right here in Wethersfield.
That's going to be amazing.
It is going to be amazing. And we're raising money. If you or any of your listeners want to come, we're having the Mayor's Charity Ball, which we've done in Wethersfield for 7 years. We didn't do it last year. Before that, we raised money, $139,000 for Wethersfield. We are raising money for this wall tribute.
Okay.
If you needed to take your wife somewhere on Valentine's Day, we're doing a Valentine's Ball at Keeney, February 14th for the veterans.
Oh,
to benefit
excellent.
the veterans.
And where would they go to find out tickets for this?
Yeah, so we're going to start advertising that. I just started on Facebook, the Mayor's Ball website. There'll be a lot of information out there. You will see the Chamber of Commerce, who's our partner with it, will also be advertising for those that want to come. So if you're around, get your dancing shoes on.
Great.
And you can go to the ball.
Well, listen, that was a lot of exciting information.
Yeah, maybe too much. Sorry.
No, it was great. Fantastic. But I couldn't help but notice this box sitting on the counter this whole time. Maybe you could talk to us about what this is.
Thank you. So last week, I received this box from the mayor of Nagayo, Japan. Nagayo is Wethersfield's sister city. It's been our sister city for 28 years.
Wow.
Many years ago, we sent a delegation. Mayor Russ Morin went, and they, a few years after that, came here. So this arrived at Town Hall for me, and it was a gift. As I can show the box, this is the Japanese lettering. It stands for Sacred Lots, and I'll explain that in a second. On this side of the box is our mascot.
The red onion.
The red onion. And on this side of the box is their mascot from Nagayo, Japan.
Wow.
They had their students make the box.
Wow.
So accompanying the box was a letter from the mayor of Japan wishing me and Wethersfield a happy, healthy new year and talking about how we can grow our cultural, educational, and economic relationship.
Excellent.
And inside the box are these sacred lots. I'm going to have you open what's in here. These are, I'll show everybody, they're origami on the outside. These are envelopes, and inside the envelopes are fortunes.
Really?
We are going to bring this into the Wethersfield schools, give this to students. There's many of them.
There's a lot of them in there, yeah.
And in here, and I hear most of them are really good. I opened one, fortune. And I was told if you get a bad fortune, you're allowed to put it back for a second.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you choose one.
Oh, boy.
Now, you can open it, but it's actually long. So I don't know if you want to read it, but you can open it and show your listeners.
Well, yeah. Plus, I don't have my glasses with me, so I may not be able to read it. So let's see.
But inside,
depending on how big their writing is.
And one side is written in Japanese, and one is in English.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to be able to read that.
If
But
you want to use my glasses,
Are
if
they-
they're cheap
prescription?
readers.
Oh,
No.
then I can do it.
They're one side English. It's long, but you could read.
I'll read a little bit of it. But it's basically the spirit of the Waka poem. Your fortune is coming into flower like cherry and peach blossoms pouring their scent onto the breeze of an idyllic spring garden. But you must not be careless and must trust the kami, K-A-M-I, kami. Do not let yourself err even the slightest in illicit love. Look at that. And it has a wishes and absent people will come soon. Lost objects are going to be found.
This is actually your fortune
Wow.
because you open this, so
Right.
you can keep it. But this is going to be going to Wethersfield High School in the next 2 weeks to students, and we're going to ask them to do a project that we can send back to Japan. But they will get these fortunes, and I gave one, and I gave one to each of the counselors, and now you have one.
Well, I will say that, it's a lot of really good things here, but one of them is on childbirth that I'm going to have an easy delivery. So, I'll not sure about that one, but
You'll be the news.
very
That'll be
nice.
news. Yeah, that'll be certain you'll make the news.
That is great.
But these
Oh,
are,
that's exciting.
yeah, we're so grateful to our sister city, Nagayo, Japan.
Great. Well, Ken, as usual, thank you for coming on the air. Thank you for filling us in on what's happening in Wethersfield. I've been doing this a long time, and I think every mayor, going back to Wayne Sassano, has been I've been talking to and interviewing, and it's been great every time. So I'm glad we're keeping up the tradition.
Well, I'm so grateful you're doing your show, that you had me on. And as I say to people, this is the best job in the world, and I call myself the head cheerleader.
And you are.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for watching. We'll have more episodes to put on the air soon. And as always, if anybody's interested in volunteering at Wethersfield Community Television, we are always looking for volunteers. So thank you, everyone, and have a happy new year.